You're just in time for the program Health and Lifestyle. A very warm welcome. My name is Marie Yambo at KBC Channel 1 on X and KBC Channel 1 on TV. On Facebook is where you can actually interact with us. Now, death is one of the hardest moments we face in life. Since it is something that cannot be avoided, it's important to give proper care and respect to those who have passed away. Have you ever wondered what a mortician really does? Want to know more? Today we speak with one to learn more about their important role. And what about postmortem? A pathologist joins us to explain exactly what it involves. Coming up in the program.
So when I received her at the funeral home, I felt that was not my sister. And I felt I needed to step in. So I stepped in, I prepared her, and I got my satisfaction from just making her beautiful.
Passion beyond the skies. Meet the air hostess who became a mortician.
The essence of conducting a postmortem is, one, to ascertain the cause of death, to understand the manner of death, and also to understand the mechanism of death.
What happens after death? We take you inside a postmortem examination room. Into our first segment. Since childhood, Grace had always been fascinated by death. After finishing high school, she chose a career as a cabin crew member, becoming an air hostess, hoping it would be fulfilling. But her curiosity about death never faded. Deep down, she knew she was meant to become a mortician. Today, she shares her inspiring journey into the world of mortuary science. Let's take a listen. At the Kenyatta Memorial Funeral Home, Grace Wayaki is getting ready to receive one of her clients. At just 18, Grace knew what she wanted, to be a mortician. But like many young dreamers, her path took a detour. The skies were calling. She trained as a flight attendant.
When I finished my high school, I knew from then that that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to become either a mortician or a pathologist. So I went to my parents and I told them what I wanted to pursue. And my dad was a medic. So he mentioned that going to medical school will take me a lot of time studying. So he advised that maybe I could pursue cabin crew.
As family life took center stage, grounding her aviation dreams, she ventured into human resource management, spending 7 years helping others navigate their careers. But something was missing.
So I remember I used to work at Lavington, a place in Riverside Drive, Lavington. And I would pass Chiromo every morning. And I would delay in traffic, just thinking, because I had never been to a funeral home before either. I kept thinking what really happens behind the scenes in a funeral home. So after 7 years, I felt it was time.
That missing piece? Her original calling.
Remember, I mentioned to my husband that I wanted to pursue now the mortuary science course. And he said no. My parents, the same thing. They told me, you must be out of your mind. So it took me quite some time. It took me a lot of courage within to just decide that I'm really going to do this despite. But I think with time, they've seen the passion in me and they've embraced. Right now, they are fully supportive. Actually, my parents tell me, I wish we knew that you really wanted to do this thing. We would have supported you from the word go. Okay. I am happy here. I have found my purpose in life. Fulfillment is the moment I see relatives, I receive a body and I see relatives smile and they're happy at what you've done on their loved one. For example, you can receive a body that has been involved in a road traffic accident, and we restore that body to almost a state of the way they were, and the family gets so, they're happy, they feel that you've restored their loved one to the way they were I think that is where I get my fulfillment, just seeing families happy. More to the family side, I can say yes, I find fulfillment in taking care of a deceased person.
So what actually happens when a deceased person arrives?
So once we receive a body, we normally disinfect the bodies because they are infectious. So there's disinfection, there's embalming. Embalming is now the treatment of a body to preserve and for presentation as well. We also do postmortems. So the three main reasons why we do embalming is to preserve the body. Preservation means that we are delaying decomposition. Decomposition still happens, but by embalming we are saying that we are delaying the decomposition process until the family gets time to bury the remains. And then there is now the embalming means that we replace the body fluids with the embalming fluid, which we call formalin.
The hardest part of this job, she says, is attending to a loved one.
My sister, she passed away in South Africa. So when she came, they hadn't done a good job. So when I received her at the funeral home, I felt that was not my sister. And I felt I needed to step in. So I stepped in, I prepared her, and I got my satisfaction from just making her beautiful.
Grace took cosmetology during her course. She says the trends have changed.
So it's a unit in campus. So you'll be told how to restore the deceased, how to make them presentable. Yeah, most of the deceased will do makeup. Yeah, it's a thing. It's an in thing. Yes, makeup on the deceased. We are doing makeup, facial. We are doing nails. We are doing braiding. Anything that comes to mind in that entails beauty. Eyelashes, anything that we do on these, on our living bodies, we do on the deceased as well. Shavings. For the men, yes.
But the work is not just physical. It takes a toll emotionally and mentally.
Can imagine maybe you're at work and you receive a loved one that you know, because it happens. So can imagine what that would do to you. Personally, I always have I find it difficult when I deal with children, being a mom. So you'll find that I'm at home and I'll remember the child that I received, I'll remember the mom, I'll remember the dad. There'll be those flashbacks, but like I said, you try and disconnect those emotions. We have an association called Mapake. We normally have a peer support group where we are morticians. So if you have any cases that are a bit heavy on us, we get to discuss. So we discuss with other morticians. And also here in the hospital, we also have a mental health team. We can always walk in case you feel you need to debrief.
Death is a mystery to many, hence the many myths around it.
There are these myths that people traditionally say, oh, the dead people can speak, so if they died, if somebody killed them, they might be crying, and things like those. Or they are going to be taken to be buried, and then now there are problems. Probably, okay, let me just put it like maybe they even refused to come out of the morgue or something. Do you ever come across those kind of, have you ever come across?
No, we only hear about them as well, but personally I haven't encountered them. We haven't encountered that here.
Just as death shrouds itself in mystery, morticians constantly wrestle with the shadows of society's negative perceptions.
You've seen us, you've seen me, and my colleagues, that we do not have to be, we want to demystify that working in a funeral home you have to be high, you have to be a substance abuser. I want to say that no, we are not. We are just like any other people. So if you come across a mortician, love on them. Yeah, because the stigma is real out there. You go out there, you tell people that you're a mortician, and you definitely feel the negative energy. I'd want Kenyans to know that morticians they are normal human beings. It's also a job like any other. We are not different from any other professions. It's just that maybe they'd like to see it as unique. The same way when you're unwell, you'll need a doctor and nurse to take care of you. Once you pass on to the next life, definitely a mortician will have to take care of you.
From the skies as a flight attendant to the silence of the mortuary, Grace Wayaki has followed her passion, drawing wisdom from the departed.
I can say, live one day at a time. Make peace with people, because we've had cases where you see someone just woke up, they were involved in a road traffic accident, and they're here. People wake up with plans that are not accomplished. So live one day at a time, be humble, and just live well with people.
Indeed, even the deceased need someone to take care of them. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing your story. And on that note, we take our first break. We'll be back with much more. Thank you for staying with us. Now, when someone passes away, there's a word we've all likely heard, and that is postmortem. But what does it actually involve, and why is it so important? I had the chance to speak with a pathologist at the Kenyatta University Funeral Home to break it all down. Take a listen to what he had to say. So thank you so much, Dr. Mortuary, for allowing us to talk to you. But let's begin, first things first. What is the work of a pathologist?
Well, a pathologist basically is a medical specialist. He is a doctor. What a pathologist normally does is you analyze specimens and offer clinical interpretation of the same specimens for use by our clinical counterparts in other clinical specialties. And post-mortem is still part of that scope of work of a pathologist.
So a lot of people normally wonder whether is it necessary really to have a post-mortem done, on someone, especially when someone has died of natural causes. Is it really necessary?
A post-mortem, or what would also be called an autopsy, is a detailed medical examination of a deceased person. And the essence of conducting a post-mortem is, one, to ascertain the cause of death, to understand the manner of death, and also to understand the mechanism of death. When I talk of cause of death, really that's the immediate cause of death. But in terms of manner of death, you want to understand whether this was an accident, whether this was a homicide, or this was out of natural causes. Okay? And when we are talking of mechanism of death, we want to understand the physiological derangements or abnormalities that resulted from the primary cause of death. It depends on the circumstances. If the death is not subject to a medical legal investigation process, then it falls upon the next of kin or the deceased family to either request, if they think they need to understand the cause of death better, or they have lingering questions as to what happened and led to the death, despite having prior knowledge of what the deceased was ailing from. Yes, it offers closure, let me use that word. Yes, postmortems are important, not just in determining the cause of death, but you're looking at a wide spectrum of scenarios that would warrant a postmortem to be done, and not just also where a family requests. Like in homicide cases, it's the state that mandates a postmortem should be done, with or without the next of kin moving forward to request for it. Because it's assumed that the state is investigating the death on behalf of the deceased. Okay? And that is by law. So a postmortem in such a scenario is mandatory.
So essentially what you're looking for is anomalies probably to actually determine the cause of death. So what are those anomalies that you normally look out for when you're doing a postmortem?
Like if it's a gunshot injury, if I may use let's use that. You want to understand the distance between the point where the gunshot was fired from and the deceased person, whether it was contact injury, whether it was near or it was at a distance, because that is vital information that helps even during the investigation by the other investigative agencies. And you want to also elaborate whether it's a single gunshot wound, whether they are multiple. And beyond that, you want to see the track of the gunshots, because it can give valuable information to the investigative agencies as to where the shot was fired from and how it tracked through the body. But more importantly, on the side of the pathologist is to give the ultimate cause of death and to document the injuries sustained as a result of the gunshot. It would depend, one, if it's injury related, or in certain circumstances, if we are thinking about poisoning. Okay, yes. So injuries usually are self-evident, easy to identify, but in scenarios where it's poison related, you may not get so much during the time of examination, unless probably the poison has a peculiar color or smell. And even then, you still have to take samples for further analysis at the government chemist, just to give that definitive result as to the fact that this was poison related. If you have a clue as to the poison that is involved, you may focus on particular organs, though like I said, sometimes it's not easy to see the damage caused by just naked eye examination. And in such a scenario, you may need to do additional tests, which may include toxicology and microscopy of the various of the concerned organs.
So at what point do you now do toxicology? Because just like you've explained, there are things that you can see with your naked eyes when you're doing a postmortem, but there are things that you cannot see with your naked eye. So at what point do you now need to go and do toxicology, and what kind of results would you expect?
Like if we may take the example of alcohol, where somebody is alleged to have died of excessive alcohol use, we normally take particular samples, one of them being blood, contents from the stomach, if urine is available, kidney, liver, for further analysis at the government chemists. The essence is to identify the alcohol and to give the actual amounts involved, because alcohol, if taken, the levels may vary within the body, and a particular concentration within the body may not be necessarily fatal. But if taken in huge amounts and exceeding a certain amount concentration in the blood, then it will be fatal. So it's important to understand what are the levels, so that when you're concluding on the report, you're able to give a definitive value. which is undisputable. Yes.
So where an injury was caused by a form of weapon, how do you determine what kind of weapon was used? Of course, when you're talking about a weapon like a gunshot, that's very easy to know. But other than a gunshot, how are you able to now tell what other kind of weapons? And what do you look at, especially if it is maybe leading to not a self-inflicted kind of injury? Or what are you able to tell from those kind of objects?
When you're looking at injuries, one of the things you want to identify is it caused by a sharp object or blunt object? And under those categories, there are specific injuries that you'll be looking for. Like if it's a blunt force injury, you look for things like abrasions, bruises, fractures, lacerations, which are basically different from an injury caused by a sharp object, which in this case would include something like a stab wound, or an incised wound, or a slash wound. Okay? Yes. So where blunt force trauma is concerned, or any injury, there are certain characteristics that you're looking for and patterns. Okay? If and also where the injury is located, because that is important clues as to whether this was an accidental injury, whether it was self-inflicted, or if it was inflicted by another party.
Mm-hmm. So the dead also speak, but not quite literally. As the doctor has said, they can actually give information that the doctors could have otherwise missed. So in good practice, let's talk about death. Talking about death can be uncomfortable, but it's an important part of life that we all face. Planning ahead, taking care of our emotional health, and understanding what happens after death can help reduce fear, ease the burden on loved ones, and bring peace of mind. End-of-life planning is not just for the elderly or the sick. It's a healthy and responsible step for anyone. Tips for end-of-life planning and emotional well-being. Number 1, start the conversation early. Talk with your loved ones about your wishes. It may be hard, but it helps avoid confusion and stress later on. Create an advanced care plan. This includes writing a will, choosing a healthcare proxy, and stating your preferences for medical care if you are unable to speak for yourself. Take care of your mental health. Thinking about death can bring anxiety or sadness. It's okay to seek help from a counselor, support group, or faith leader. Learn about palliative care, hospice care, and other end-of-life services available in your area. These can provide comfort and dignity in your final days. Understand the role of a postmortem or autopsy. Postmortems can help determine the cause of death and give families answers. They are also important for medical research and public health. Organize your important documents. Keep documents like your ID, insurance, medical history, and funeral wishes in one safe place where loved ones can find them. Take time for spiritual and emotional reflection. Whether it's prayer, meditation, or quiet time with loved ones, find what gives you peace and meaning. Support the grieving process. After someone dies, grief is natural. Give yourself and others time and space to mourn, and don't hesitate to ask for help. We've come to the end of the program today, and I hope I did not subdue you that much, because today we're talking about death and talking about taking care of the deceased ones who also need someone to care for them. But it's a learning curve, it's a learning process, so we all are going that direction, but it's important for us to learn what happens during death. So my name is Maria Ambo. Thank you so much for your time. And on behalf of everyone who made this program possible, of course, Grace and the pathologists, we say thank you for your time. If you've missed any part of this program and you'd like to learn more, definitely go to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to watch the whole program. It's bye for now.